first, it doesn't feel real. There's no warning siren in most cities. No dramatic countdown. No movie-style voice announcing the end. For most people, the first sign of a nuclear attack is simply a blinding flash, brighter than the sun, lasting less than a second. If you're outdoors or near a window, that flash is your first and most important warning. Because what comes next happens fast. Brutally fast. Within milliseconds, the nuclear weapon detonates. Temperatures at the core reach tens of millions of degrees, hotter than the surface of the sun. Everything near ground zero, buildings, vehicles, people, doesn't burn. It vaporizes. Steel melts. Concrete fractures. Human bodies are erased before the brain can even register pain. But most people aren't at ground zero. For those miles away, the next thing they experience is silence. The strange, heavy pause. And then the blast wave. The shock wave travels faster than sound at first, smashing outward with unimaginable force. Windows shatter across entire cities. Houses collapse. Cars are flipped. Anyone standing is thrown to the ground. In urban areas, this wave alone causes massive casualties, especially from flying glass and debris. In suburban neighborhoods, roofs rip off. Walls cave in. Streets instantly fill with dust, smoke, and screams. If you survive those first seconds, you enter the most dangerous phase, the first 5 minutes. People instinctively run to windows to see what happened. This is deadly. The initial flash can cause temporary or permanent blindness, especially at night when pupils are dilated. Looking directly at it, even briefly, can damage the retina. Emergency rooms, if they're still standing, will soon be overwhelmed with burn victims, trauma injuries, and people who can no longer see. And then the fires begin. The heat pulse ignites anything flammable. Trees, furniture, curtains, paper, fuel. Thousands of individual fires break out at once. In cities like New York, London, or Sydney, these fires quickly merge into firestorms, sucking oxygen from the air. Survivors trapped in buildings may suffocate before flames ever reach them. By 10 minutes after detonation, communication collapses. Cell towers are damaged. Power grids fail. Internet service disappears. Radio stations go silent or switch to emergency broadcasts, if they're still operational. People desperately try to call loved ones, but networks are jammed or dead. This isolation creates panic. Rumors spread instantly. Was it one bomb? Are more coming? Was this an accident? Or the start of a war? Most people still don't realize the biggest danger hasn't arrived yet. Because by 15 to 20 minutes, radioactive fallout begins to descend. The nuclear explosion pulls massive amounts of dirt, debris, and ash into the atmosphere, contaminating it with radioactive particles. This fallout doesn't fall evenly. Wind direction determines who is most at risk. Someone 10 miles away downwind could be in more danger than someone closer but upwind. Fallout looks harmless, like gray dust or snow, but it is lethal. Exposure without shelter can deliver a fatal radiation dose within an hour. Inhaling it contaminates the body from the inside. Skin contact burns at the cellular level. This is why immediate shelter is critical. Basements, underground parking garages, interior rooms away from windows, these can mean the difference between survival and death. By 30 minutes, emergency response is crippled. Firefighters can't reach burning zones. Hospitals lose power. Medical staff are injured or killed. Roads are blocked by debris. Airspace is shut down. Military command structures scramble to determine whether this was a single strike or part of a larger attack. Decisions made during this window could shape the fate of entire nations. For civilians, confusion is total. Parents search for children. People wander the streets in shock, many already suffering from radiation exposure without knowing it. Some try to flee the city, driving directly into fallout zones, unknowingly increasing their radiation dose. And still, the hour isn't over by the time the clock reaches 40 minutes. The world looks nothing like it did an hour ago. The sky has darkened, not because night has fallen, but because smoke, ash, and radioactive debris now hang in the air. Daylight turns orange, then gray. Visibility drops to a few city blocks in many areas. What people are breathing now isn't just smoke. Its radiation carried on microscopic particles, entering the body with every breath. Inside shelters, time moves differently. Those who followed instinct or training and got underground are now sitting in silence. Phones are dead. Radios crackle with fragments of emergency instructions. Government broadcasts repeat the same message. Stay inside. Stay away from windows. Do not go outside. For many, this is the first moment when the reality sets in. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't a test. This was a nuclear weapon. By 45 minutes, the first physical symptoms begin for those exposed to high radiation. Nausea, dizziness, a sudden metallic taste in the mouth. These are not psychological reactions. They are biological warnings. Radiation is damaging cells at a level no human sense can detect. People mistake these symptoms for shock or smoke inhalation, not realizing their bodies are already fighting a losing battle. Outside, movement slows. The initial panic has burned itself out. Streets are filled with abandoned vehicles. Fires still rage, but fewer people are running now. Many are injured. Others are simply exhausted. Emergency sirens echo in the distance. Sporadic, distorted, often cut short. In some areas, military vehicles appear, not to rescue, but to assess damage and establish control. At 50 minutes, hospitals face impossible decisions. Doctors and nurses are forced to triage with almost no resources. Burn victims, trauma patients, radiation exposure cases that cannot be treated. In a nuclear event, medical care changes completely. Survival is no longer about saving everyone. It's about saving anyone. This psychological toll on responders will last far longer than the physical destruction. Governments, meanwhile, are racing against the clock. Leaders are moved to secure locations. Nuclear command systems are activated. Intelligence agencies analyze whether more strikes are coming. In Washington, London, Canberra, and allied command centers, the most serious conversations in human history are happening in real time. Retaliation, de-escalation, survival of the state. All of it unfolds while civilians sit in darkness, waiting. As the 60-minute mark approaches, the deadliest danger remains the same: fallout exposure. Radiation levels outside are at their peak during the first hour. This is why survival guidance emphasizes one rule above all others: do not go outside. Every minute spent exposed now dramatically increases the risk of radiation sickness and long-term cancer, if survival is even possible. Those who remain sheltered have a chance. Concrete, earth, and distance reduce radiation. Even simple barriers can cut exposure significantly. The difference between life and death in a nuclear event is often not strength or speed, but location and timing. When the clock finally hits 1 hour, the immediate violence is over. There are no more shockwaves, no more flashes. The bomb has done its work. What remains is a broken landscape, a traumatized population, and a future that has been permanently altered. The first hour determines who lives long enough to face the days, weeks, and years that follow. This is not fear-mongering. This is reality. Understanding what happens in these 60 minutes isn't about panic. It's about awareness. History shows that survival in catastrophic events often comes down to knowledge. Knowing when to move, when to hide, and when to stay put. If this breakdown helped you understand the reality behind the headlines, like this video and subscribe to the channel. We focus on facts, not fiction, on what the world actually looks like when everything changes in an instant. Because the first hour decides survival, and knowledge is the only advantage anyone has left.